the first pick in the NFL draft.
Hello and welcome to the Franchise Tag NFL Draft Show. We are back with another countdown. Adam and I are back with the tight ends this time. Maybe not as exciting as previous years, but there's definitely some good players to be coming into this. Adam, you look shocked by that comment. Is that just
how can you not be excited about the tight end position? My God, we've got some crackers in this one.
I mean, it has become such an important position in the NFL now that they've changed all the tackle rules and there's players can be open across the middle a bit more. It has become, we've seen what Laporta's done, what Kelsey's done. It is an important role to teams these days.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and we're starting to see a new breed of them as well. They're certainly getting much more into the whole, they're kind of just souped up wide receivers almost is what we're starting to see. So they are becoming more important. This year, maybe not so exciting when it comes to the depth, but we do have one, I would argue maybe two exciting wide receivers, tight ends in this one.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of teams also, especially your Green Bay Packers, taking two tight ends from the draft. So it makes, go a little bit deeper, have a look at some of the guys at the back end of this that could be useful. So, should we dive right into it?
Go for it. Give us your first one or your last one.
It says top 10. It's actually a top 7.
We couldn't find that many.
Well, we could add people on there, but we'd be clutching at straws, I reckon. So first up, we have Theo Johnson, the tight end from Penn State, 6'5", 262 pounds. Last season stats, 34 receptions, 341 yards and 7 touchdowns. He was a late addition to our list due to the fact I was really, really impressed with how he played at the Senior Bowl, Adam, I know you haven't seen loads of him, but first thoughts on him?
Yeah, not seen a great deal on him. As you say, he did pretty well at the Senior Bowl, and that's where a lot of hype's come from him in the last few weeks. To me, probably the biggest issue when it comes to him is that, PFF have graded him down in 2023. Actually, he was graded down compared to 2022. I know he got more touchdowns, and more targets as well, which is a promising sign that he was getting more involved with the team. But it is a little bit of a concern that his overall play wasn't quite as great as what it was. I thought that his receiving was clearly better than his run blocking. That definitely seems to be something that he's better at, and that's like we were saying about this whole sort of new breed of tight ends. So it kind of goes into that. He's a pretty big guy, 6'5", 262, so it's a decent size to him. But I'm not too sure where we're going to be looking at when it comes to actually being drafted. I think this is a guy it's day 3, definitely, I would have thought. But I think he had one of his standout games. Was against Mass, I think it was where he played pretty well. But yeah, he seems a pretty standard kind of tight end, and I feel that his run blocking needs to improve in order for him to get involved in a NFL team and become relevant to anyone's team on a significant level.
Yeah, I really think that someone might really like the fact that he's got really reliable hands. He's fantastic over the middle. He's not afraid to get hit with being such a big guy. And for a tight end, this isn't something we usually say. He is actually really good after the catch as well. He's got great strength. So I think with that, obviously, he's a bit of a raw talent. Playing tight end, I don't think you can really go, oh, what's his weakness? Well, his blocking needs a lot of work. I think that just kind of makes you a bit of a gimmicky bit piece, bringing him in for the passing plays, taking him off for the blocking plays. But if someone likes that, they feel like they can work on him and get him better at that blocking, I think he has got some value there. But we'll move on to number 6. Hang on, we may move on to number 6. There we go. We move on to number 6. Bit of a glitch there. It is Brevin Spanford, the giant from Minnesota. That's 6'6", 269 pounds. 25 receptions, 239 yards, 2 touchdowns. I'm a big fan of this guy. You heard me talk about a couple of bits over the season. Adam, what are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I thought he looked okay. Again, he's another guy where I don't think there's anything particularly amazing about this guy. I think that he didn't really show much production. I think was his biggest issue to me. There just wasn't much there, and I think that's quite a difficult one for him. He wasn't. He kind of like. I feel like again he's kind of quite an athletic kind of guy. Given his size, I think he's quite athletic. But the one thing where he did excel was very much in the run blocking game, and I think that's probably why you're going to see this guy will be given a chance. I think with a lot of NFL teams, if you can run block, and then that's something that you're going to get involved in, and then therefore that will help a lot. He wasn't really much of a touchdown guy. He didn't score much. He's not much of a vertical threat, I thought, considering his size, which was a bit of a surprise to me. But he is decent, sort of like contested catches. He's very good. I don't know. Again, it's another one where I think he had a very, very good 2022 and he kind of dropped off and it just kind of felt like he didn't quite match up to that, which was a bit of a shame. Yeah. Good at blocking. I thought he sealed the edge really well. That's the one thing I would say about him. I thought he was very good at that, and so I think because of that he will get a chance. But again, day 3 probably quite near the back of day 3 as well, I would have thought.
Yeah, a bit more of a traditional tight end. I think when we're evaluating these players and we're looking at them and we're saying like, oh, they're a good draft prospect. I think especially when you're looking at tight end, I don't think we're necessarily looking for did they have 600-700 yards? Did they have 7 to 10 touchdowns? You've really got to look at the fact: are they good at blocking? Can they seal the edge? You know that I think that's really, really important for a tight end. And this guy, for me, did it perfectly. I think if you watch again, another guy that was at the Senior Bowl on one of the drives, the commentators were even saying he was influential in every single play. They ran the ball quite a lot, and they were saying it's Spanford really got the ball up here with his blocking, and then he even got the touchdown at the end of it. And if you see the touchdown that he got, he catches the ball away from his body. It was quite low. I thought that was really good for such a big guy that was more of a blocking player to be able to do that. I think that really shows that you're reliable and you've got good hands and you're not just a blocker. So that's why I really, really liked him. I think he'd be fantastic for a team that's looking to shore up the end and struggling on O-line a little bit.
Yeah, I think as like I say, a very late round pick, someone to just sort of like go and get themselves a tight end just to bulk up that tight end room. You could potentially have promise. You know, there's a lot there that you could do. The fact that you can do that, the run blocking at the beginning is huge for him. So that's really, really good. Just not, I don't know, it kind of felt like a bit of a weird one because, as we say, it feels like the tight end position and the way the NFL's going is going one way. It feels like this guy is very much the other, and that's where it just sort of became a bit like, oh, I get it, I get what he's doing, but it's just not quite where it's going now.
He's not as flashy, and he's not going to get you loads of fantasy points if that's what you're looking for.
Well, yeah, that's very true.
Next up is Ben Sinnott from Kansas. 6'4", 245 pounds, 49 catches, 676 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Adam, I think before he went into college, this guy played wide receiver, he played baseball, he played hockey, he did a load of track. You know, this guy is an athlete. He's a sportsman. He's played all the big games. Will he make this transition to the NFL?
Yeah, I think he's got a pretty good chance actually. I had him as my number 4 tight end. I think he's a solid route runner. He's good after the catch. He's very good. He's got great yak ability and stuff like that. So that's good. But not just that. He's a good blocker. So he's good at that. And the one thing that was nice to see, and when you look at it, he's progressed year on year. So that's definitely something that you can see with him. The yards have increased year on year. The touchdowns have increased year on year. I know, like you say, it's not necessarily the most important thing at this point for a tight end, but it does kind of go to show that he is capable of doing them things. The one thing that I would say about this guy, and I think I might say it about the next guy as well, he's not amazing, but he's solid. And so I think that's the thing about him. There's nothing particularly special. He doesn't do anything particularly special, but he is a solid tight end that you can expect to see go probably, I would argue, more towards the beginning of day 3. I think for this guy, I could see him being a round 4 pick or a round 5 pick. And yeah, I thought he looked good. He like I say, he can do a bit of everything, and so I think teams will like that. But he's not great. He's good, but not great.
Yeah, the reason I've not got him above the number 4, and I think they are very similar. They both are good, but they both lack the elite speed and athleticism in that, they're not going to be contesting catches further down the field. They're going to be very sort of quick dump off ones, I would have thought. But what I really liked about him was his work ethic. I think he's got absolutely fantastic work ethic. I think you see him blocking defenders at the line of scrimmage, breaking off of them, and then going blocking again for the wide receivers. And I think that's something you don't see a lot. A lot of people just stick to their assignment, but you see him downfield making the blocks as well. And I think that's really, really key. I think also he's had a few drop issues over his time, but another reason why I've got the other guy above him. But wonderful prospect. I think he's this is where it starts getting interesting with the tight ends, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think he's probably, like I said, I know we've done 7, but I feel like it is kind of 5 that kind of have the potential to really make an impact. I do think someone like Sinnott does have the potential to make an impact. I just feel like he's one of them where it's like solid at everything, needs to develop, probably will develop, as he's shown signs that he can develop year on year. So there's no reason why he can't when he goes into an NFL team. It's just that I don't see anything special coming from him.
We move into our number 4, the guy that I had above yours. Funny enough, it's from Ohio State. Maybe
I wonder why.
It's Cade Stover, Ohio State, 6'4", 249, 41 receptions, 567 yards and 5 touchdowns. Interesting fact for you, Adam, with this guy. Maybe you didn't know this, but he was actually brought into Ohio State as a defensive lineman. Played a bit of special teams and then realized he's actually a really, really good tight end. Hasn't had any drops. Very reliable. What are you saying about this guy?
Yeah, I think reliable is very much the word for him. Really good hands, great at contested catches. Tough to bring down. That was the thing that I noticed when you saw him. Whenever he did have the ball, he was tough to bring down. So he did have a lot of yards after the catch ability, which was great. Not only that, I thought he was a decent blocker as well. I thought he did that pretty well. I don't think he was amazing at it, but I think he was decent. To me, he kind of lacked athleticism a little bit. He wasn't quite that sort of, again, it's like it's going away from the way that it's going at the moment in the NFL with tight ends. And I thought his route running, it could be improved. I thought it was okay, but it could be improved sort of thing. Again, it's that sort of solid, but not special. And so I think that he's, again, going to be someone round 4, round 5, probably round 4. I think although I personally prefer Sinner, I think that maybe the NFL might like this guy a little bit more. I think the fact that he's from Ohio State might mean that they like him a bit more as well. So yeah, I think he's certainly got a career ahead of him. I think he can certainly do something. He's just not anything amazing.
Well, time after time, I saw him popping up and doing his bit. As we said, reliable at the start of this. And I think if you're playing at Ohio State, along with the likes of Harrison and Agbuka and Fleming, and JSM was there at the same time as him, and people like that, and Carnell Tate. I think if you can make an impression, knowing that the wide receiver's that good, and you can really step up and play your part, that really shows the talent that he's got. I think if he had the athleticism of some of the guys that are coming up in this, we'd be talking about him a hell of a lot higher. I think that's his only downfall. He's not going to be getting separation. He's not going to be downfield, but he's going to move the chains. He's going to be influential in the short passing game, and you get a great blocker as well. So I really like him.
Yeah, I think he'll do what, like I say, I think he'll do okay. I think, and like, it's a good point, sort of, when you say, when you have got the likes of Marvin Harrison there and JSN last year and all of that, it's tough to sort of make yourself relevant. And so I think he's done pretty well to be, like I say, kind of just a solid guy, but also just improve over the 3 years. Like, he has just improved year on year. So I think it probably goes to show that he might be a little bit better than what I think a lot of people are making him out to be.
Yeah, like I said, he didn't start off at that position. He moved from D-line to tight end. So, he's got a lot of more developing to come that he can make in the NFL. We move on to number 3. Number 3 is Jaheim Bell Jr. from Florida State, 6'3", 238 pounds, 39 receptions, 503 yards, and 2 touchdowns. There was a hell of a lot of hype about this guy going into the year. A lot of people even thought he was going to come out at tight end 2. He's down to our tight end 3. I think a lot of big boards have got him even down to tight end 5. I think when he was at South Carolina, I think they had him playing running back and places like that. Moved over to Florida. As I said, it was supposed to be his breakout. Not been as impressive as what I thought he was, but I really like him.
Yeah. I mean, the concern here is that his kind of grades have gone down over the time that he's been at college. He seemed, obviously in 2021, he burst onto the scene and was very impressive, and I think we all kind of felt like that he is someone who could be like really, really good, and it just kind of hasn't really happened so much. It's like his touchdowns have gone down a bit, the yards have gone down a bit. I mean, he went up again last year, but not been amazing. I mean, I think he has some really good attributes. So he's very athletic. That's definitely his. When you look at the previous 2 guys that we've spoken about, this guy's very athletic. You can use he can be used in, although he's a tight end, he can kind of be used in them sort of things like what Debo does for the 49ers. He can do that and run arounds. He does a lot of that. I think he's a decent route runner, and obviously because of the athleticism, he's good for yards after the catch. So he is good at all of that stuff. He isn't great at contested catches. That's not really his thing, and also I don't think he's much of a blocker. I think he's okay, but I don't think he's amazing at it. If you want to block in tight end, you'd go for the previous 2 over this guy. That's kind of how it is. So he is a bit smaller. He's only 238 pounds. It's not really a tight end kind of size, I would say. I mean, is it Braylon Allen? I mean, Braylon Allen, the running back's like 245, isn't he? So it's like it is a bit small for a tight end. I think he has good attributes. He probably can develop, and so that's why I think that this guy is probably going to be potentially right at the end of day 2. I think round 3 is definitely where I could see this guy going towards the end of it. But yeah, there are some red flags there, which are a bit concerning. But I think a team's going to go for him and be like, we can do something with this guy.
Yeah, he's got attributes that you'd be like, yeah, I can work with this. His open field speed. I've seen him outrun linebackers and safeties at some points. He's got good yard after the catch threat ability, and I think that's really, really solid. And as I said before we went into him, you mentioned it at all, using him in trick plays and things. He actually had 73 carries, 261 yards, and 3 touchdowns in his final season with South Carolina. So, like I said, he's got that ability to play at running back if you want to use him in a bit of a trick play. So, it's a bit of value, extra value than the others haven't quite got to him. So,
yeah, I think this guy's very much. It depends what flavour you want. If you want that more athletic tight end, which a lot of is the way the NFL is trending, then it kind of makes sense. I think that you're going to see, more and more of this. But he kind of is just. He's not quite at that. He doesn't quite have the weight behind him compared to some of the others. So
yeah. Size is
the blocking is going to be an issue. The fact that he basically doesn't do it much.
Well, draft him and Spamford, and then you use them accordingly.
Yeah, but you can't have them both out at the same time. That's the problem.
Well, one on one end, one on the other. We move on to number 2. And that is Jatavion Sanders from Texas, 6'4", 243 pounds. He had 45 receptions, 682 yards, and 2 touchdowns. A lot of people getting excited about this guy. If it wasn't for who's coming next, there's a bit of buzz about Sanders.
Yeah, I think he is kind of the prototypical new tight end, isn't he? Everything about this. I know he's not that much smaller, bigger than Bell. But he kind of seems like he is. This is the new tight end. He's very athletic. Yards after the catch is brilliant. Thing that I love most about him, and said it all the time in the wide receiver episode as well. He creates separation. That's the difference. And this guy can do it for fun. He's good with contested catches as well because he has the height and the weight to support that. As I said, he is a little bit smaller than some of the other tight ends that we've spoken about, which is a bit of a shame. And he's blocking again a little bit like Bell, not quite there, but he isn't really there for that. He's there as your, like I say, this souped up wide receiver, new NFL type, and someone's going to go for him. And he's got second round written all over him. I think myself. I think he's a starter straight away. I think you're going to see. He kind of feels very Laporta like in a way where I feel like he could do the same similar things if he's given that opportunity to do it and being in that team straight away. Then I think he could do very well. And I think a lot of people are going to get to know him pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's funny you should say Laporta, because what I was going to say to you is Laporta wasn't the first guy off the board for the tight ends last year. There was some more prototypical tight ends off the board before him and rated higher than him. And it turns out that he's, with his attributes, that he's the one that's excelled in the NFL and done well. My notes that I was going to say to you, if you weren't going to nail them, were separation, routes, and no drops. What more do you want from a tight end, really? Again, another guy that I don't know who you're going to get to mark him when he gets to the NFL, because again, he's another guy that linebackers just can't keep up with him. So you're going to have to think about using corners and safeties to come down and mark this guy. And then you've got a bit of a mismatch in size for him. So yeah, very interesting. I'm really interested to see his numbers at the combine as well, because he is a bit of a special athlete as well.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see what he does at the combine when he's tested. A lot of these things are that's kind of almost like where the combine is interesting for some of these guys who are a little bit lower down, and see whether or not they can sort of like show how good they really are in that sort of pressure situation. So I think that I don't think we would be saying that this guy is amazing if if the next one wasn't here. But I do think that there would be a lot more hype about him if the next one wasn't here.
Well, we may as well talk about the next one, the blue chip player. And that is Brock Bowers from Georgia, 6'4", 238 pounds, 56 receptions, 714 yards and 6 touchdowns. And within that, he had a bit of time off injured as well. So just imagine if he wasn't injured for a bit last season, what those figures would actually be. This week, I don't know whether you've seen it, Adam, Joel Klatt, Fox's college expert, did a list of the top 5 pass catchers in the draft, and he had him at number 2 above all the other wide receivers apart from Harrison. This guy has also been the best tight end in college for virtually since he started. Especially if you talk about, if he went into the draft last year, he would have been the best prospect. And we've already spoke about some of the names coming out of that. So how excited are you about this guy?
Yeah, I mean, he looks amazing. He's had a great college career. He kind of, well, I would argue, wasn't quite as good this year as he was in his previous 2. But as you said, there was injuries and stuff like that. So it did kind of knock him down a bit. It's very difficult to find any weaknesses. I mean, if you want to, you could argue his size is a bit of a weakness. He is a little bit smaller than what a lot of people class as the typical tight end, but I mean, it doesn't seem to matter in the blocking game. He just seems more than capable of blocking, even with this sort of like a slightly smaller size. So I wouldn't be too concerned about it. Athletically, I think he's amazing. Tough to bring down, great for yards after the catch, and just the route running and the vertical threat is just incredibly impressive as you see him go. There's nothing else to it, sort of thing. It's really difficult to come out with anything particularly bad about him. I think he's going to be in the NFL for many years to come. I think he's exactly what the tight end position is becoming, and so he is ideal to come out at this time. So people are going to look at what Laporta did last year, and they're going to come out and go, oh, okay, so if we go for a guy like this, we can make a difference to our team with a tight end. It can happen. I know, obviously we've had others. We've had Kelsey, we've had Andrews in the last few years, but more often than not, the position does get punted back a little bit and not something that they feel is incredibly important. I think after what Laporta did last year, it goes to show that you can bring in a rookie and they can be very good and they can have a big effect on your team. So I think that Bowers is an obvious one. I think he's probably in the top 5 when it comes to the players and their abilities coming into the NFL for this year. I doubt he goes top 5, but if you just look on like talent, I would argue he's a top 5 player.
Yeah, I think he's definitely a top 5 player. I think the Chargers should take him. I think he'd be really good there. I understand now why that people are saying why they might not take him. Maybe that's for another show. But yeah, if he does drop, because it's positional, someone's going to get an absolute steal. We were talking a little bit about the new style of tight end and the importance and how valuable they are and how good they are to have a player that's really, really strong and quick over the middle. When you look at the last sort of you could probably go back quite far. Look at all the teams that won the Super Bowl. The Chiefs last 2 years, the Buccaneers, Chiefs again, the Patriots. They all had a really, really strong, impressive tight end or someone good over the middle. And, go back again to when the Eagles won it. They had Zach Ertz, who was their leading receiver at the time as well. And I think that the Rams, if you're saying that's an anomaly in this, I think Cooper Kupp's exceptional over the middle. So, not a tight end, but still the importance of that position. So there's got to be some people going, we want a bit of that. This is the key, maybe, to moving your franchise to the next level.
Yeah, I think that it's something that people they don't. I wouldn't say they don't respect the position. I just think it's one of them things where it's like it can't be considered a main position because they're too worried about the wide receiver position or the left tackle and stuff like that. But it does feel, to me, it feels now that, you know, because the wide receiver position is so important, that means that the corner position is now so important as well, and that they're more inclined to go for these sort of things. I think, yeah, they probably need to look at it. And like you say, I think that the biggest issue with that is that they're probably going to come out and go, yeah, but it was Kelsey and Gronk. So it's just two guys. It's like, and I feel like, I know Zach Ertz did do a lot for the Eagles and stuff like that, but I just feel like a lot of people are going to go, oh yeah, but Gronk did it for the Patriots and the Bucks, and obviously Kelsey has done it. So these two are just, you know, superhuman. We don't get anyone that's like that. But it really is changing. And I think, you know, it's not just that. When you think about how influential Kittle has been for the 49ers, and they got to the Super Bowl this year, you look at the two teams that lost. You know, Andrews, how significant he's been, how significant Laporta was this year. They've all got really good tight ends, and they all made it to the championship games. So I think it does go to show that it's needed. Obviously, you know, we know with the Chargers and Jim Harbaugh that he wants tight ends. He that's his bread and butter. It was at Michigan. It makes complete sense that he takes him with the 105, I think it is, they've got. So I mean, that would make complete sense. I just don't know whether they're going to go, yeah, it makes sense, but it's very high for a tight end, and it's just that same old sort of story. But yeah, I mean, Bowers looks great, and I think he's, like I said, I think he's going to be around for a long time. He's done 3 years at college. He's looked special from pretty much from day one, to be honest, and it would be surprising if it didn't translate into the NFL.
Well, we've got a couple more minutes, as this is a bit of a slightly quicker show. I'll tell you the story that I've heard. It comes from Daniel Jeremiah, saying that the reason that the Chargers won't take a tight end at 5 is due to the fact of what they've got to pay him as a top 5 pick in the draft as a rookie. And if he doesn't hit and doesn't live up to expectation, then if you then have to pick up his 5th year or re-sign him or franchise tag him, then the cost is virtually the same price, and he'd automatically be one of the highest paid players at his position without even producing the goods. And people are saying that you should take a different skill position as edge or wide receiver, because the value between the rookie contract and the next contract is or the highest paid at that position is so much larger. So the risk element of taking a tight end at 5 is where the issue stems from, why people are saying he might not go at 5.
So I can understand that based on a financial sort of and things like that. So I can understand why you would think like that. The only thing I would come out and say to counter that is that you're not going to get this guy in the 2nd round. So that's where it becomes like, what do you value and what do you want? I mean, you could argue that it would be more important to go for a different position, and then you could take Sanders in the 2nd round. Maybe that's the logic then. That's what you go for. You take Sanders in the 2nd round. And Sanders could be a very good NFL tight end, but we don't really know it. I mean, we don't really know it with Bowers because obviously he hasn't played. But the fact of the matter is, it would be pretty shocking if he wasn't.
Yeah.
So
you're not that good at Georgia and winning titles with Georgia.
Exactly.
So offense.
Yeah, so it would be very surprising if he suddenly turned up in the NFL and it just all fell apart. I mean, it does sometimes, it happens, but it would be odd. So I think because of that, you kind of have to think that he's pretty nailed on certainty that he's going to be a very good tight end for many, many years. Now, I get the logic of other positions and punting the money into that instead of the tight end. Thing is, if this guy's going to be one of your main weapons in your arsenal when it comes to it, does it matter? I mean, is that really a big issue? I mean, at the end of the day, if you're someone like Jim Harbaugh, who does like to play, lots of running, using the tight ends and stuff like that, if you want to play that way, he basically is your wide receiver one. So I think it really depends what you want and how you feel you can, what you can do with it. But yeah, I wouldn't. I think I would only, if I was them, I would only be passing on him if I was very happy with a tight end later on, and that I wanted to do that. I mean, maybe they don't want to go tight end at all. You never know. But if they wanted to go tight end, I would want to be happy with one later on so that I could get that one, and then I could put my, the 105 into someone else.
Yeah, definitely. Well, hopefully that has got you a little bit more excited about the tight ends in this draft class. If this is your first show you've watched and you are getting into the draft stuff at the minute, our quarterback, running back, and wide receiver shows are already out. If you do see a rogue name on the wide receiver one, it's because we recorded it prior to knowing who was returning to college. So there's an Ohio State player on there.
Damn you,
But keep your eyes out for the upcoming shows. We've got O-line coming next. Then we're doing the D-line, edge rushers, and the defensive backs. I think we've got linebackers show as well. So plenty more to come with the draft prospects. But till then, keep it with the franchise.